Hey there, quick note before we dive in. What you're watching right now is a lesson from one of my courses that I've decided to release completely for free here on YouTube so you don't have to pay a dime. So instead of asking you to buy my course, if you want to show your appreciation, here's a couple of things that you can do. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel. These small actions tell YouTube to share my content with more people, which is a huge help. Also, feel free to check out my recommended equipment links in the description below. If you do purchase equipment from these links, I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you whatsoever. Or if you want to, you can leave me a super thanks or even just hit play on one of my playlists. I know it sounds silly, but if you just hit play on one of my playlists and let it play in the background, even if you're not paying attention, it tells YouTube, hey, people are watching these videos. I'm going to push it out to more people. So even if you just want to do that, I would love it. I would appreciate it so much. And then lastly, if you're looking for more personalized help, I do offer private coaching that you can find in the description of this video. Either way, I really appreciate you, whether you choose to do one of these things or not. Just by simply watching this video, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Now, let's get to the lesson. All right, so far you have learned about compression, equalization, denoising your audio, declicking your audio, limiting, and a few other things. And, learning about how to use them individually is great because you need to understand what they do, how to use them, and all of that. But now we need to learn, okay, you're done recording your audio, you're about to edit your video or, whatever it may be that you're doing, but you need to edit your audio, but you need to apply your effects. And how do we go about that? Because like I said, knowing them individually is great, but how do we create an effect stack, right? Because that's kind of what you're going to be doing pretty much all the time. It's just way more efficient. It's a great workflow. It just makes everything much quicker. So I'm going to go over my effect stack, how I process my YouTube videos, and why I do the things I do. Now, let me first say, my effect stack over here is insane, okay? And most people would be like, that's way too much. You're doing way too much to your audio. Here's the thing though. Half of this stuff is there just in case I need it and I actually don't use it. And then the other half of the stuff here that I do use, I'm very lightly using it. I'm not using it, I'm not being very aggressive with it, okay? So it looks overwhelming and it looks like a lot of stuff and it looks like something you're doing way too much to your audio, but I'm really not doing that much. So let's start with the first bin here. Okay, now let me just go ahead and actually say before I start with the first bin, I've created an effect stack, a template really. So I've added all of these effects by going here and then, going to EQ and then going to the equalizer, parametric equalizer. I've added all of them here. And then what I did is I go over here to where it says save effects stack or save effects rack as a preset. And I've saved it. Now I did a YouTube because when you open this, A is obviously the first thing you're going to see. So I just did a YouTube and here it is right here. So you can just create an effect stack and then save it and be able to get to it, with a click of a button really quickly. But let's go ahead and let's just go through all of my effects and what they do, what I'm doing. All right, so first things first, EQ. I always start with EQ first. That's what a ton of engineers do. That is pretty much what most people do. You don't have to, just know this is the way I like to work. This doesn't mean it is the only way. There's a million different ways that engineers like to put their effects in a stack. So, play around. Feel free to play around and see what works for you, but this is what works for me. So first things first, I like to put a high pass filter at 80 hertz in the EQ, right? So I just cut out all of this subharmonic content that we don't need. It's useless. It's just going to make your audio dirty. It's just going to make your audio have more noise. So why not just get rid of it? We can't really hear a subharmonic content anyway. I don't have a really deep voice, so I cut all the way up to 80. You might want to cut to 60. You might want to cut to 70. Some people might even want to cut all the way up to 100. It just depends on your voice and the room and all that kind of stuff. Just know that you can always cut to 60 hertz. Like you can always cut to 60 and that's going to be fine for every single voice out there. That's not going to negatively affect anything. That's good. But like I said, for me, I like to cut at 80. Then I like to make a little dip at 120 hertz here just to take care of a little bit of bass in my voice, right? I don't have a lot of bass in my voice, but I've just noticed that on my sound system downstairs on my TV when I'm watching my YouTube videos back, I tend to get a lot of bass buildup around here, and it could just be the system down there. It could be a few different things, but I've just noticed I like to cut a little bit of bass out so that, everything doesn't sound too boomy and too bassy. That's just my personal opinion, my personal preference for my specific voice and all that good stuff. So that's what I do. do, cutting out a little bit of bass so it's not boomy. And then I cut out a little bit here at 527 hertz. This is just getting rid of a little bit of boxiness. I'm in the middle right now at the time of this video. Who knows when you're going to be watching this, but at the time of me recording this video, I'm in the middle of building acoustic panels to fully treat the rest of my space. I have acoustic panels in my space near my desk where I actually edit stuff, but I don't really have acoustic panels back where I shoot my videos. And so I'm in the middle of working on that to make that space a little deader, a little more dead when I'm recording. But for now, I'm just notching out a little bit of stuff up here, which is where you could get some boxiness. And even if I get those panels up and it really helps with the boxiness, I might still cut out here. It just makes, sometimes it just depends on the voice in the room, but sometimes it makes the audio a little more clear, a little easier to understand. And I have a little roll off up here at 13. And you don't have to do this. This is, honestly, I'd probably leave that alone and it would be totally fine. I don't really think this is doing much. I just do that. It's kind of like a low pass, or I'm sorry, it's kind of like a high pass filter up here, or down here, I should say. So I'm just kind of doing that. This is not a huge deal. It's just something I do. So that's the first thing I do, okay? And I do actually use that on every video, right? This is what I'm doing. I'm not doing a ton of anything here. I'm doing cuts. I'm not really boosting anything. There's not really a whole lot of times where you would want to boost. Yeah, there will be times for certain people in certain situations, but typically when it comes to EQ, you're just going to be doing a lot of cutting, not really boosting. Or at least that's the case for me in my scenario, okay? Everybody's scenario is different. And then up next, I have Clarity VX. Now, this is to just get rid of a little extra reverb or slapback in your room. Again, the acoustic panels that I'm making will take care of this, but at the time, they're not made yet at the time of recording this video, so I don't have them up on the wall. So I really just use this to help with a little bit of slapback reverb. Now, when it comes to my microphone review videos, I don't use this. I don't use any of this for my mic review videos because I want everyone to hear the mics that I'm reviewing completely unaltered, no processing whatsoever. So I don't use any of this for that. But if I'm doing an informational video or a talking head video where I'm teaching somebody something, then I'll use this. And look, I barely have this thing up, man. I have it up to like right there, right? I barely have this thing going. It's just to catch a little bit of excess reverb and slapback, okay? And then next, I have a de-esser here, okay? This is just to catch a little bit of the extra S's in my audio so that it makes it easier for people to listen to my audio for my videos. That's all this is, okay? It's not a huge deal. And then this is one that I hardly ever use this. This is a notch filter. Just if I have some really persistent, crazy sibilance or like some kind of crazy noise, I can use this to really go after it. But I'm barely ever using this thing. And then I have RX10 DS here, just in case I have some crazy sibilance one day or who knows what. I just kind of have it here as a backup. I barely ever use that because I have the de-esser here. And then here we go. I have RX10 mouth declick. I use this on every single video other than microphone review videos. And I leave it in its default setting, which is sensitivity 4. And these you don't even need to worry about. This is just getting rid of mouth noise, right? Just those extra pops and clicks that happen to people when they're speaking. And I just have this set to 4 and it takes care of that. Now, Goyo, this is actually called Clear now, so it's not Goyo anymore. It's actually called Clear, and I don't use this very often. Let me go and see if I can find the actual thing that it is now. Let's see, restoration. Oh man, I can't remember. Maybe it's in here. I can't remember who makes it. There we go, Supertone. All right, so this is actually what it is now, right? If it'll actually come up. There it is. Okay, it's called Clear, and you used to be able to get it for free, but now you have to pay for it. And this actually was my favorite denoiser. I actually ended up possibly liking it more than Clarity here, which is saying a lot. But unfortunately, and I probably honestly just need to update the plugin, but I was having a little bit of glitching happening with this plugin, so I stopped using it. Again, if I just update the plugin, it would probably fix the glitch that I was encountering. But as of right now, I'm using Clarity VX Pro. And you do it by ear. You adjust this because this is taking noise out of your audio and just leaving your voice, right? Okay, I have a full review of this on my YouTube page and in this course, but I just kind of do this by taste. I don't crank it all the way. Sometimes I'm just maybe here, or here. It just depends on the audio recorded that day. I live next to an airport and there are planes taking off all the time. So sometimes I have to use that. If it's not a mic review video, I just use this to get rid of that. If it's a mic review video, I just have to stop recording, or not stop recording, just kind of sit there and wait for the plane to go by and then continue my video. Gets kind of annoying, as you would imagine. So I have the clarity going. And then, let's go down a little bit, RX10 voice denoise. Again, this is just an extra one. I don't use this like almost ever. This is the denoiser that I used to use all the time. I would typically leave it in its adaptive mode and just leave this between 3 to 7. I don't like to go much beyond that. Like, I think its default is 12. Everything depends on the audio that you're recording. There is no one size fits all, so you just got to play with it just like I do with the clarity. You just got to see what works for your audio at that time that you recorded it. So I'm not even using this. It's just there as a backup just in case. You never know. I like to have as many plugins as I can here to pull from if I need it, so I don't have to always go and go, all right, where is it? I got to go find it. So now we have TDR Nova. This one I use on pretty much every video, again, other than microphone review videos. And this EQ I use on occasion for the EQ side of it, but for these videos, I'm always using it in its dynamic EQ mode, which I have a whole tutorial on that in my course, and that's what I'm using this for. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that one on. And then single band compressor. So I have this going. You can see all the settings just like in the tutorial I have in this course about compression. And then this is an extra. Okay, this is from Waves, just like clarity is from Waves. This is just a little bit of tube saturation. It's just adding a little bit of saturation. And really all it's doing, I guess the easiest way to explain this is just adding a little bit of, you could even say like high-end frequencies to an extent. It's a very simplification. It's a very simplified way of explaining it. But it just helps your voice jump out a little bit in the mix. I typically don't use this because it will make your audio a little more harsh to listen to. It makes your S's and your ch sounds a little more harsh. So I don't typically use this, but it's there in case I want to use it. And then my last thing is a hard limiter. Okay, so, I have a tutorial all about limiters in this course as well. And, I just cut this off at -1, so nothing clips and nothing goes beyond -1. The input boost, I adjust to taste. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day, how the audio is recorded, how much gain do I want to add to it. It all just depends on how I'm feeling and how the audio is recorded. Now, that is quite a lot, as you can see. But honestly, look, I'm using the EQ, the Clarity VX, and I'm very lightly using both of these. I'm using the de-esser, and I'm pretty light with that too. And then I'm skipping everything except for this. Mouth declick I do use, and it's on its default. I use Clarity VX Pro lightly, not heavily. TDR Nova Dynamic, it's light as well. It's not going crazy. The hard limiter is also light. So you can see I'm not even using all of these, and I'm using every single one that I am actually using. I'm using it in a very light way. I'm lightly touching the audio with most of this stuff. And really, that's what I do to my audio for YouTube videos. It's not a lot. A lot of people get really bogged down with, oh my God, I've got to use so many plugins and I've got to really polish my audio. But you don't have to go nuts. I've said it in some tutorial videos. The less you do, the better it will probably turn out. I spoke to an ADR engineer who is amazing at his craft. He is a phenomenal engineer and really knows his stuff and has been doing it for ever. And, one of the most profound things I've ever heard anyone say, he said to me, I was asking him, how do they, like, for example, David Attenborough and Planet Earth and Our Planet and Blue Planet, he's the one that's always doing the voiceover dialogue for a lot of those shows. I love his VO for those shows. And it always sounds so smooth and so easy to listen to. It's just so great. And I was asking him one day, I was like, what are they doing to his audio as far as like effects processing and everything? And he goes, it's not what they're doing, it's what they're not doing. And my mind just exploded. He was saying that to say they record the audio very well up front, which means they really don't need to do much, if anything, to the audio after the fact. And that just, that just blew my mind. It told me everything I needed to know about audio and processing in such, it's just, he barely said anything and that was it. I was like, oh, I get it. So you don't want to go nuts. You don't want to go crazy. Put it this way. If you're having to crank your EQ and all of your plugins, if you're having to go crazy with all of your plugins, that means you've done something wrong when it comes to what we do as YouTubers and recording audio and content creators. Like if you're going crazy with your processing and your effects, you've done something wrong on the front end when you went to record your audio. Okay, so that's a really good rule to live by. It's really served me well. And I think it's just something you should potentially just keep in the back of your mind, like, hey, I really shouldn't need to do that much to my audio. There are obviously scenarios where you will need to do more to your audio than others, but for the most part, if things are going well, you shouldn't need to do that much. Now, this was a lot, right? This is a pretty big thing, but okay, how can we keep it really simple? Let's just keep it really simple, and that's what I'll get to in the next video.